701.
If you're calling in by phone, if you could mute your microphone, it would be helpful. If I mute you from the Zoom end, you will not be able to unmute.
holding hands. Like numbers, this would go to scale. Listen. Oh, letters. Scale. No. Yeah.
Okay, are we live again now?
Now we're okay.
Okay, I'd like to welcome you to East Hempfield Township Board of Supervisors meeting. We're starting a few minutes late because of a prior public meeting we had to discuss our official map. This meeting has been advertised to be both in person and on Zoom. Those of you that are utilizing Zoom to publicly speak and be recognized, you must state your name in chat and must also state your residence and what you wish to speak about. It must be about the agenda item being discussed at that time. You will then be recognized by the board chairman. Once recognized, your microphone will be unmuted and you'll be given an opportunity to speak. At the conclusion of your moment of speaking, your microphone will be muted. There will be no accepting of interruptions during the meeting. Any interruptions outside of this process will result in you being removed by Zoom. All the rest of the people in the meeting there in person, we will be applying Robert's rules for this meeting. There will be public comment in this meeting. For public comment, you will be limited to 3 minutes. You must be a resident of the township to offer public comment or owner of property in the township. And it must be about a non-agenda item, and we will not take any action on any non-agenda items. So with that, we'd like to stand up for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Now the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's also worth noting that with this meeting being on Zoom, this meeting is being recorded and the recordings will be posted online. We're also in a situation where we are having a board of 3 and 2 of our board members right now are at a meeting with the Hempfield Fire Department and are going to join us at the conclusion of that meeting. Hopefully they'll be here in a little bit. So with that, we're going to move on to our first agenda items, which is additions to the agenda. I'm going to turn over to Ms. Schweitzer to explain the 2 items being added to the agenda.
So we have 2 items that we're requesting you to add to the agenda. The first one is the Hempfield Fire Department's funding proposal for the engine replacement. You have gotten copies of that material, I believe, the day before. The other one is the Brookside Phase 1 offsite escrow reduction number 1. That was a staff error. We missed that cutoff, and it's a substantial reduction, and we'd like to have that added to the agenda as well.
Okay, any discussion of the board about the 2 items being added to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to add the 2 items as discussed to the agenda. Okay, motion for Mr. Bennett, is there a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Weaver, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Ayes have it 3-0 to add those both to the agenda.
Thank you.
Next up, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. The purpose of the consent agenda is to approve routine items that usually require very little debate or discussion. So is there anything to discuss on the consent agenda? I did understand that there was a request from Mr. LaFever about adding some items to the meeting minutes.
Correct. He has them highlighted. He wanted to make notation regarding the 2260 Dairy Road. He would like the following added to the comments. Attorney Shank stated the applicant will apply to the zoning hearing board for relief from the billboard height and the message change timing requirement if the proposed billboard needed them.
Any issues? No. Okay, so we will include that addition into the consent agenda, into the meeting minutes. Is there any other discussions? Okay, you two are going to get a lot of activity today. So I'm entertaining a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Weaver, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Bennett. All in favor, say aye. The ayes have it, 3-0. Okay, next we are going to actually skip over our action items for a moment to give our fellow supervisors a chance to come and join us at this meeting. And so we'll now move on to old business, if there is any at this point. Okay, I'm seeing none. Any new business at this point? I'm seeing none. Okay, managers report. Mrs. Schweitzer.
I almost have to
The
read it,
floor is
don't I?
yours to speak lengthily at this point.
Stall, huh? I mean, you have a copy of my report. I really don't have anything to add to it. I don't know if there's any questions that you have or something I could maybe further explain. The Holland Street Bridge project, of course, is finished.
That is
after
very nice, by the way.
15
Seeing
years.
that down.
I had the letter on my desktop to send to Mr. Durda, who was very helpful in getting that emergency removal of that bridge taken care of for us. Let's see what else we got going on. Stalling for time. I don't know if I can stall that much time.
No, actually, you have a very light report too.
Yeah, yeah, the state road projects are all shut down because of the winter. Church Street paving, we're moving along slowly with that. The let date has been changed to January of 2022. We have been in contact with all the property owners concerning sidewalk and curbing changes. That topic is going to be discussed at the Public Works Committee group to discuss some cost sharing between the township and the property owners.
Speaking of State Road, there has been a lot of chatter on Nextdoor about openings, causes for delay and all that. It'd probably be good for us to put out an update, maybe on our website and on our online media, including Nextdoor, just,
We did.
did we?
I did see those comments come through.
Oh, you saw it too
And
then?
yeah,
Okay.
I did see those. And I did post something on our site,
Okay.
on the Nextdoor and also Facebook. And I think I posted it to the website as well.
Yeah, there was a couple contractors that spoke up, so it wasn't an
Yes.
issue. They clarified on why you can't pave in December, January, and February.
wasn't
so
totally
was very
negative.
nicely done, but it does just illustrate it's good. So I'm glad you did that.
the
Anything
force-
else for the manager?
Four Seasons, we're moving along on that project.
Any word on the hospital?
The last time I spoke to somebody from the hospital, they are moving forward. They're ahead of schedule. Assuming the weather holds out for the winter, that will continue. The building inspector and the third party we're using are satisfied with the workmanship.
Yeah,
Moving along.
and I can hold this comment until we discuss the HVAC system at the golf course, but I see that our Paragon weighed in again on some equipment. And
Right.
they specified the train was the better equipment.
Yes,
Which one of the bidders utilizes train? Is that Fry Litz?
they all three, that was the base bid. Train was the base equipment, and then we provided for alternates. So two of the three that submitted bids provided alternate options. Both of them JCI equipment.
Right.
which is the Paragon found that less attractive than the other, didn't follow the bid specs.
The bids did come in about where we thought they would, right?
They're somewhat high compared to what Paragon thought they would be submitted at, but he also told us that it's very hard to predict them. They don't come, they're not consistent when he does his projects. I think Scott Hain is here. He felt that they were in line. They're close in terms of the base bid amount. In terms of what we were anticipating end of last year, we transferred 135,000 to the golf fund in anticipation of this project. Of course, we didn't come in at 135, but
Oh, we knew that was,
it was a guess. It was really a guess.
Just hit pause that, because this is
Okay,
actually
yeah,
an
that's
actual agenda item for us to talk
Yeah.
about in a few minutes, and hopefully we have the rest of the members here. Anything else? I do, is Penn State doing any more night work at this point?
I did have one more incident that I dealt with the property owner and the neighbor on,
Okay.
and we seem to have resolved it. The neighbor now has a list of contacts, both from the township and from the contractor. Should there be a problem, he will call. The police are also monitoring it more closely in terms of the activity out there as well as potential theft, which they've experienced.
Okay.
So minor equipment, minor things.
Okay, any more comments on the board at this point? Board report outs, we have public safety meetings, any meetings, since they're not here, could you do a report out?
So public safety, we discussed the COVID status among the employees. We discussed the fact that we got our CARES funding, which totaled 319,000. That was the end of last year. Chief Skiles explained who he is planning on hiring. That will be on your agenda on the next meeting. We also discussed the security film that's going to be added to some of the windows in the police department. It's going to stabilize those, which he had concerns about. We updated the safety committee about the commission fire safety commission hiring, and also about the Hempfield Fire Department funding request.
Which we'll be talking about in a moment.
Yes.
Any other report outs? I don't think there's any other group
No,
meetings.
they are coming next week.
Okay, so continuing, skipping over action items, we'll now move to public comment. We'll start here in the audience if there's any public comment. Seeing none. Ms. Garber, is there anybody online for Zoom for public comment?
No one has indicated a desire to speak.
Wow. The time we want the meeting to slow down. Okay, so we are past public comment. Well, what I got a feeling is our two board members are going to be at the Hempfield Fire Department for a while. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the action items. And as the chair, I'm going to pull the privilege of us taking action on items that I think would be non-controversial and would be resulting in a 5-0 vote if all members are present. And anything that I think that would be needing additional discussion, we will table that at this point. And then if they happen to come in the next 10 or 15 minutes, we will pick those action items up. If not, then they will be moved on to our next meeting agenda. So the first one we have, which I think is non-controversial in the development services, is the official map. It's acknowledgement and authorized staff to send to the Lancaster County Planning Commission and East Hempfield Township Planning Commission for review and recommendation. So is there any discussion of the board?
well, I appreciate all the work that everyone's done on it. I think it's a good map, good plan, gives us good guidelines for the future. And recommend that we move forward.
Yes, this is Colin Cecil, zoning officer for East Hempfield Township and project manager for the official map. And thank you, Mr. Bennett. We appreciate that. If you do grant us permission, we will be sending this to the Lancaster County Planning Commission as well as the East Hempfield Planning Commission for their review. And also we'll be sending this to the neighboring municipalities for any comment they may have as well.
A nice thing is we do have goals as a board, and this is one of our goals for 2020. Actually, in a COVID environment, we still did get a lot of our goals done under some rather more extraordinary circumstances than we would have in a normal year. This completes our planning documents. We now have updated our subdivision, land development ordinance, zoning ordinance. We have our comp plan done, and now we have our official map, which we will be hopefully taking action on in a couple of months, and we will have all of our planning documents in place and all under 10 years of age, which puts us in a very small group of municipalities in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania who can claim that all their ordinances and planning documents are less than 10 years old, or even have them.
Exactly.
So congratulations to you guys and staff. I think we've had plans for a lot of things, but a lot of them were all over the place. And the idea of official map is to give a nice picture, because a picture's worth 1,000 words, and in this case, it's probably worth 10,000 words. So it gives a nice picture as to what we're looking to do for roads in the next 20 years in terms of improvements, park and rec space, open space, trails, some stormwater activity, meeting our MS4 requirements, all on a map. So this is great that we're doing this, and I'm happy that we have it.
Amen.
Anybody, let's see if there's anybody, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to talk about the official map or what they heard at our 6 o'clock, our previous meeting? Okay, seeing none, I'll read the motion here. So the motion is to acknowledge the East Hempfield Township official map and to authorize staff to send the official map to Lancaster County Planning Commission and East Hempfield Township Planning Commission for review and recommendations. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Bennett. Is there a second?
Second?
Second from Mr. Weaver. Ms. Switzer, please poll the board.
Mr. Bennett? Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
You guys are out of order. Mr. Russell?
Aye, the ayes have it 3-0 with
Thank
2
you.
members absent.
Mr. Chairman, if you want to buy a bit more time, maybe put Mr. Haynes on the hotspot. He had provided me some updates on terms of the zoning amendments that are being worked on. If you wanted him to share that with you.
Actually, that would be better for the full board though.
Yeah, I know.
That's actually one that we probably should wait on. So let's see what else we can knock off first here. So next one is the 211 Marietta Avenue agreement. I think that would be one that we would have a unanimous decision on with the board. So Ms. Switzer, I'll turn that over to you to explain why this is on the agenda, given that this was a pending legal matter.
So what you have before you is a settlement agreement with the applicant at 2111 Marietta Avenue. She had submitted a request to do some additional work on the property in terms of additional units. And the Board of Supervisors, after reading the decision on that, decided that it would be best if the sidewalk and curbing, I guess it was a full release from that requirement on Marietta Avenue, should not carry forward. So we submitted the information to the courts, and we chose to settle the situation. And what you have before you, it represents that, which is a settlement, removing that requirement or that release from the zoning hearing board decision, and creating an agreement that deferred sidewalk and curbing until such time as the Board of Supervisors requested it to be placed on Marietta Avenue.
Any discussion of the board?
We've talked about this. This is
So anything from the audience? Okay, seeing none. Motions to approve the settlement agreement and the curb sidewalk deferment agreement for the project at 2111 Marietta Avenue. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Weaver. Is there a second?
second.
Second for Mr. Bennett. Ms. Switzer, please poll the board.
Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye, the ayes have it 3-0 with 2 supervisors not present. Next up, we have our sewage enforcement officer, and I'll read the motion and we can talk about this. Motion to adopt resolution 2021-06, appointing Ritu Associates as the East Hempfield Township primary sewage enforcement officer for 2021. Mrs. Switzer.
I'm going to turn this one over to John. Unfortunately, Colin left. He did a lot of the legwork on this.
Exactly. I have to reiterate that Colin deserves a lot of credit for the hard work he's done on many projects in the township, including this one. He was instrumental in trying to locate a replacement for Mr. Lockard. Unfortunately, we received notice from him late in the year, too late to do anything for the reorg meeting. He no longer wanted to be or pursuing being the primary SEO for East Hempfield Township. As I said, Colin reached out. He went to the state's website and got a list of licensed certified SEOs and went down the list trying to find somebody that would be in proximity to East Hempfield Township that would want to take over the duties. Couldn't find anybody. We reached out to engineering firms, first locally with Vertu and David Miller Associates. I won't comment on David Miller Associates. They are in the process of trying to get people in place to provide that service. But thankfully, right now for 2021, Vertu does have people in place, and they offered their services to the township. We were expecting an increase in fees considering Mr. Lockard's experience and the fact that he does have quite a few municipalities. With that being said, there is a slight increase with the fees going to Vertu. But for the most part, staff is respectfully requesting that the board adopt resolution 2021-06 and appoint Vertu as the primary SEO for the township.
How many systems do we actually have in the township right now? Not that many at this point.
We're approximately between 450 and 500 properties that are on our old system.
And what's our requirement for pump outs right now?
Originally, it was split into thirds.
Okay.
But with the low number, we were actually going on an as-needed basis and notifying properties as they needed pumped. Last year, we were less than 200 properties that needed pumped. So as of this year, I think it's even lower.
Okay. Any discussion of the board at this point?
It doesn't look like there's a lot of, I mean, it's like under $3,000 of services, but so it doesn't look like, I mean, that would be new systems, wouldn't it? I mean, or do they just deal with new systems, or is it inspecting?
It could be new or existing.
Okay.
I know there were some instances where Mr. Lockard even went out and did infiltration test inspections because an SEO is approved to do that.
Not a huge demand, but still important.
Okay, since this is an action item, is there any comments from the public? Okay, seeing none. The motion is to adopt resolution 2021-06, appointing Vertu Associates as the East Hempfield Township primary sewage enforcement officer for 2021. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Okay, motion from Mr. Weaver. Is there a second?
Second?
Second from Mr. Bennett. Ms. Switzer, please poll the board.
Mr. Bennett,
Aye.
Mr. Weaver,
Aye.
Mr. Russell.
Aye, the ayes have it 3-0 with 2 supervisors missing.
Mr. Chairman, I was told that they are on their way.
Okay, well, we've done a good job of slowing it down a little. Next up, we have the Try for Life, and I'll read the motion, and I assume Mrs. Garber is going to talk about this for a moment.
Correct.
So the motion is to approve the HARC special event application for the Triathlon for Life to be held on multiple roadways in East Hempfield Township on Sunday, May 2nd, 2021, with final township costs to be determined and invoiced after the event is complete, and to permit the chairman of the board to sign the indemnification agreement to use the township roadways. Ms. Garber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an annual event run by Hempfield Rec Center. They are hoping to be able to do it in person and much more similar to what it has been in the past on Sunday morning, May 2nd. While the roadways will not be completely closed, there will be some significant traffic delays, and due to that, we do require the indemnification agreement to be signed. I did discuss the route with Lieutenant Brubaker. It is the same as it has been in the past. We don't have issues with this event, either traffic or participation, and so it would be staff's recommendation that you approve the motion as you had indicated.
Any discussion of the board? Any comments from the audience? Okay, seeing none, I'll read the motion again. The motion is to approve the HARC special events application for Triathlon for Life to be held on multiple roadways in East Hempfield Township on Sunday, May 2nd, 2021, with final township costs to be determined and invoiced after the event is complete, and to permit the chairman of the board to sign the indemnification agreement to use the township roadways. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Bennett. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Weaver. Ms. Switzer, please poll the board.
Mr. Bennett,
Aye.
Mr. Weaver,
Aye.
Mr. Russell.
Aye, the ayes have it 3-0 with 2 supervisors missing. Next up, we have, let's see what other ones can we do here.
Brookside,
What's that?
Brookside.
Yeah, let's go to Brookside. We have, as we had put this on here, the escrow reduction number 1 for Penn State Health and Brookside. Motion is to approve the Penn State Health Lancaster Medical Center and Brookside A's final one financial security reduction number 1, according to David Miller's December 24th, 2020 recommendation. Mr. Beck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Give a brief introduction. As Cindy alluded to, this was a staff oversight. We wish we could have had it on the January 4th agenda or the January 20th, but it's before you gentlemen tonight. This reduction covers the off-site improvements associated with the Phase 1 Penn State Health Lancaster Medical Center and Brookside project. As far as any questions, I would defer to Scott Hain, but at this point in time, staff agrees with the recommendation provided by DMA and respectfully requests the board to approve the reduction based on DMA's recommendation.
Okay, we do have our engineer here. Anything you wish to add?
We tried to identify the particular items that we thought were still clearly outstanding and how we address those, but a majority of the work has been done between the start and now.
Any discussion on the board?
Nope.
Anything from the audience? Okay, seeing none, I'll read the motion again. Motions to approve the Penn State Health Lancaster Medical Center and Brookside Phase 1 Financial Security Reduction number 1, according to David Miller Associates December 24th, 2020 recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Weaver. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Bennett. Ms. Switzer, please poll the board.
Mr. Bennett,
Aye.
Mr. Weaver,
Aye.
Mr. Russell.
Aye, the ayes have it 3-0 with 2 supervisors absent. How far out do you say they were at right now?
How about the employee manual?
28. It was about 5-6 minutes ago that one came in.
Yeah, that employee manual will actually be good to have that discussion. We got the golf course items and employee manual. Board goals should be the full board, and the Hempfield Fire Departments would be those 2. They were both in favor for Hempfield Fire Department,
Yes,
obviously.
yes.
So why don't we take care of that one then? Why
Okay.
don't you explain what was discussed on Monday, and we'll keep the meeting going.
So the Hempfield Fire Company, and Diane probably would do this better justice. The Hempfield Fire Department has been looking at a new engine replacement for the past 2+ years. They finally submitted their request to the township the end of December. It went through at least 2 public safety committee group meetings to discuss. We asked them for some fine tuning, some more information. What you have before you, Diane prepared a summary of what occurred and where they're at with their funding request. They are looking for a PEMA loan, which they will take care of that annual payment. And they are looking to the township to fund a bank loan debt service of $33,924. Now, what we're looking for tonight is a commitment from the Board of Supervisors to move forward with this funding source so that they can order the engine. The engine will take almost a year to be delivered. So the 34,000 roughly commitment from the township won't begin until the 2022 budget. Diane, I don't know if there's something you wanted to add?
No, I would just say that Hempfield, while they did not submit the proposal until December, has been working with us on this for the last 2 years and has patiently waited for us to work through our strategic plan and then getting the commission and now the chief fire official. So they have done their due diligence throughout the process, and I appreciate the work that they've put into it. And then, as Cindy indicated, they were very helpful in getting us documentation that we asked for in the last couple weeks to get this before you this evening. The urgency to it is that the prices did go up on Monday on February 1st, and the manufacturer has given us only a 50%, only 50% of the price increase as long as the contract is signed by Friday.
Okay, discussion on the board. Ms. Weaver?
I think this was just for financing payment or,
Correct. It's to create a debt service for the bank loan portion of the project, which is roughly $400,000 loan.
And normally, if we had a little bit more time, we would go over where we are with other loans and stuff like that, but it's something that the budget can absorb.
In fact, our last payment on, I think it's Rogerstown's building is this year, $55,000.
All right.
So there's no further debt.
Okay, so seeing no discussion on the board, is there anything from the audience?
Mr. Chairman, your board members have arrived.
Okay.
Do you have GPS tracking?
I heard the door.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, we know they're in support of this, so we're going to just keep the meeting moving. So I will entertain a motion to provide a bank loan funding assistance to the Hempfield Fire Department in conjunction with the replacement purchase of a replacement engine.
So moved.
Okay, motion for Mr. Bennett. Is there a second?
second,
Second for Mr. Weaver. Ms. Switzer, please poll the board.
Mr. Bennett,
Aye.
Mr. Weaver,
aye.
Mr. Russell,
Aye, the ayes have it with 3-0 at this point. Hey. We're eagerly awaiting the appearance of our last two supervisors.
I think you got about 1 minute and they'll be through the door.
Okay, thank you. So our remaining items that we're waiting for the full board to take action on are related to some golf course maintenance projects that need to occur. Our employee manual with making updates to that. Board 2021 goals. And then that will conclude our meeting. Good morning, gentlemen.
welcome.
Kept it warm for you.
Is Mr. Wigglesworth right behind you? Is Mr. Wigglesworth behind you?
Yeah, he got buttonholed though on the way out.
Huh.
So I don't know quite, he should be here shortly.
Okay. We can let the board goals go for a minute. How about we do the employee manual next, Ms. Schweitzer?
So the employee manual had a comprehensive review in 2014. Since then, we've had a couple of amendments, some minor amendments to it as the years have gone by. We recently gave it to, well, not recently, but we gave it to the labor attorney to review and give us updates in terms of the current HR policies. And that's what you have before you. With the exception of two areas that I provided you with a memo regarding, and that's section 404 vacation schedule and section 405 sick leave payout. And these would be changes to benefits. Other than these two, there are no changes to benefits. They maintain where they're at. So in terms of the vacation schedule, we had a very large gap between years 7 and 15. And what I am asking or requesting the board to consider is doing something similar to what was done for year 2 to year 7, which is add a day a year. It doesn't change the full eligible leave, which stands at 5 weeks or 200 hours. But it does give long-term employees a incentive to just give them a bit more days per year. The second one, section 405, the sick leave payout, back in 2014, that was raised from, I believe it was $5 to $6.25. And I'm simply asking that to be raised to $7 from $6.25.
Okay, discussions of the board. Now, the memo that you had in there, that is actually not in the updated 2020 manual yet.
No.
Those two items.
No. That's what's currently in the manual, yeah. But, yeah.
Okay, any other discussions? Sorry to get you guys, we put off, we pretty much did most of the meeting. We left a couple of the action items that we thought would be appropriate for a full board. We did take action on the fire truck, but we left the rec center and a couple other things still on here for action items. So we just have the employee manual. We pretty much have addressed everything else that's already been on the agenda, including public comment at this point, so that we can get you guys in get as much involved with this process as possible.
Thank you. Thank you, Sonia.
Okay, so any more discussion of the board about this, the employee manual 2020, or I guess we call it the 2021 employee manual now, right? 2021 employee manual with the two changes that were just discussed. Okay, seeing none. Are you guys good, Mr. Wigglesworth and Mr. LaFever?
For the employee manual, I am.
You good? Okay. Seeing no comment, is there any comment from the public? Okay, seeing no comments. So the motion is to adopt the revised East Hempfield Township employee manual with the two changes discussed tonight. So do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Okay, motion for Mr. Weaver. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. LaFever. Ms. Switzer, please poll the board.
Mr. Wigglesworth?
Aye.
Mr. LaFever?
Aye.
Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye, the ayes have it, 5-0. Okay, so now we'll go back. We did, for Mr. Wigglesworth and Mr. LaFever's benefit, we did item A of the action items, we did item B of the action items, and we did item I of the Brookside escrow reduction, and we did item H, Hempfield Fire Department, and we did now just accomplish item F. Now we're on to the golf course, which is item C. It's supplemental 2021 budget appropriation for golf course projects. And Ms. Switzer, I'll turn it over to you first.
So Joe Robinson tells me we need a supplemental appropriation for the funds that we are contemplating approving for tonight. So that's what you have before you as a 2021-07 resolution, which officially changes the 2021 budget. As part of that, it is requesting a sum of $263,500 be transferred from the general fund unappropriated funds to the golf fund as building improvements. That $263,500 is made up of $18,500 for a water softener that needed to be replaced, $5,500, and electric and meters to segregate the meters so that the blue collar, the leasee, or leaseor, we could segregate that electric use. The $20,000 is for the fire monitoring system, and the $219,500 is for the HVAC bid, which we just opened today.
Okay, discussions of the board.
And maybe we want to explain the projects for the,
Okay, why don't, I guess, why don't we explain the project, and then we need to talk about, because we are kind of doing things out of order, how normally things would be done, so.
so let's start with the big one, the HVAC project at the golf course. We have been working on this, and we were hoping to get this done by the end of the year, and that didn't happen. We did put the bids out. The bids were opened this morning. We received 3 bidders, Leo Cobb, Freilich, and Liebold. They were bidding on HVAC systems on the roof, which are 7 of them, that all need to be replaced. They're about 20 years old units. We got 3 quotes, 223, 795, 244, 193, and then the low bidder, Liebold, of 219, 500. The bid was structured also to allow for alternate units to be quoted. There were two companies that did that, both quoted JCI units at a reduced cost. One was 194, 795. The other was 199, 193. Our company we hired to prepare the specifications, they specialize in HVAC bid documents and engineering. They reviewed the alternate bids and came back to us and said that the JCI units are not equivalent to the TRAN units, and therefore should not be considered. They're of lesser quality. So therefore, we're looking at the base bid, and the low bidder is Liebold.
Okay, any more discussion of the board?
Just reviewing the engineer's recommendation, it was very thorough in that he pointed out components that would need to be duplicated with a less expensive unit and additional service feeds and things. So yes, the recommendation seems to be quite in order.
Now, I do want to explain too that normally the Recreation Authority would put forth this recommendation. They did discuss it at their meeting last Wednesday, the 27th, I believe that was. And they knew that the bids were out and being presented, but they also realized that these units are promised to be installed and operable before the lease holder starts paying his lease payment. So timing is crucial so that we get this ordered and get the units up on the roof so that the restaurant can open. The authority already granted the blue collar 2 months of waived lease payments because these units are not in.
We have Dan Trump on the line, I see up there.
Yes.
We have one authority member that's attending our meeting right now.
And also Mr. Bennett's on the authority. I also want to add that we did reach out, or actually Mike, no, they're different projects. Go ahead.
Tom, do you have anything you want to add at this point?
Well, I just, the bids probably have come in a little higher than we thought, but again, we've known this has been staring in our face for quite a number of years. So it's time that we get to this and get the tenant in there and we move things along from a business standpoint.
Anything else from the board?
Mr. Trump, I think,
real quick here.
is unmuted if he.
I'm in agreement with Tom there. I think it'd be nice to get the ball rolling and utilize the space.
Anything else from the board?
I hear what everybody's saying and I can be persuaded. I just feel obligated to point out that oftentimes, or sometimes these last minute things come up. And we've made a conscious effort not to tackle them at the last minute. I think I understand the urgency and see it. I just think that in the future, I think when these things do come up, sometimes we do need to address them at the meeting like we're doing now in the future. Just wanted to throw that out there.
I was a little hesitant at first, but Ms. Schweitzer answered my question. I had asked her to do some homework on the alternate bids, which she had done and reported out, which is the York units, because I knew that's what we had on top of our current facility. And it turns out that was not what the contractor bid, even though he stated it was a York unit, he was bidding the other one, which was not a comparable. So if he actually had presented a comparable, then we would be having a different discussion about tonight's bid, because we could have gone with the alternate bid, but since the alternate bid's not comparable to the base bid, contractually, we're required to go with the base bid.
Correct.
Any other discussions of the board? I agree, this is short notice. The fact that we have Mr. Trump online, by default, we have Mr. Bennett, but it's nice to have an authority member who's not on this board that's also present in there. And the fact that they did discuss this, the normal procedure would be the authority would make a recommendation, but do a thorough review and would make a recommendation to us as the party that has the funds right now to pay for it. Someday the authority will have their own funds to pay for this stuff. So I would encourage us to take action at this point. So with that, I'll read the motions, assuming that there are no public comment at this point. Okay, seeing none. Motion is for the supplemental 2021 budget appropriations for golf course projects. The motion is to adopt resolution 2021-07, approving the 2021 budget appropriations for the Four Seasons Golf Course project in the amount of $263,500.
So moved.
Okay, motion from Mr. Bennett. Is there a second? Second from the chair. Ms. Schweitzer, please poll the board.
Mr. Wigglesworth,
Aye.
Mr. LaFever,
Aye.
Mr. Bennett,
Aye.
Mr. Weaver,
Aye.
Mr. Russell.
Aye, the ayes have it, 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, looking through here, we have two more things related to the golf course now, actually taking action items on these things. So the first is the fire system proposal for the golf course property. Ms. Schweitzer.
There was concern expressed by members of the authority that the golf course should have a fire monitoring system installed. We went out and got a bid for that, and that's what you see in Allwine. They are currently now installing a security system at the golf course. Mike O'Brien understood the concern that there should be additional quotes, and he secured a second quote, which is much higher. The authority is recommending that this went through the proper process. The authority is recommending that the Board of Supervisors consider installing this monitored alarm system using Allwine security out of Brownstown.
What are we? I have for the Allwine, we have the fire system proposal for the blue collar area only and fire system proposal for the pro shop area only. Are they saying both? Where are we approving tonight?
You are approving the full Four Seasons Golf Club,
And what
I
does that
believe.
translate to
No,
a dollar
that's not
amount at this
correct.
I
point?
think about 19, right?
I think it's 17.3.
Do I hear this is a proprietary amount?
I'm sorry?
Is this a sole vendor that we're considering under the 25,000? Is that?
Two bids.
We received two quotes. We also received a quote for the same components from ESCO. So it's under the requirement for sealed bids.
Yeah.
And that is for, the install price is 17,300, but is there also a monitoring price too?
The monitoring price is below that. It's like $240 per
Okay, okay.
year. If you're doing it over phone lines, it's 360, which is an incredibly less expensive than what we are paying now. So it's going to be an offset or an added benefit that we got this quote because we are going to probably switch to their monitoring system, which is much less expensive than the one we're currently using
So we
at
will
the golf
be
course.
doing the monitoring over 2 phone lines for $360 per year.
To be honest, I don't know what that means. Perry, do you know what that means? Perry?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute.
Okay.
Yeah, there's two ways that it can be monitored. The safer way is the cell phone monitoring system. It's basically has a cell phone built in. Landlines are very undependable. Depending on where the fire and everything starts, your phone lines could melt right away. So your monitoring system doesn't work. It is the better way to go is the cell one. That's what we currently use for our burglar alarm system that's there now. And again, we did look into the cost from, we currently use Johnson Controls for our monitoring system, which is over $1,000 some. And the price that we got from Allwine was significantly cheaper. It was like $34 a month. And that is for the cell service.
Anything more, Ms. Switzer?
No.
I'll read the motion first, then we'll go to board discussions. The motion is to award the contract to Allwine Security in the amount not to exceed $17,300 for installation plus annual monitoring. So that is the motion. So discussion of the board.
Yeah, the only thing I'd point out is that, the use of the building is changing. Prior to the tenant, the building was used only on weekends, occasionally for events. Now we're looking at 24/7 restaurant facility. And this makes sense given the use of the building.
I'm realizing that there could be an impact to our insurance for that additional use, as well as this system might generate some credit money toward a premium for the facility.
Mr. Trump might be able to speak to that. He's an expert on insurance. But he felt that there might be some give there, yes.
So, yeah, I mean, as far as cost for use of the building, I actually think we might see a downtick because we will no longer have to provide liquor liability insurance, as well as insurance for the banquet rooms and events that we're hosting. And then on top of that, yes, having a newly updated, secured fire system connected to a monitoring company should definitely assist with cost.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. Anything else for the board at this point? Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll read the motion one more time. Motion is to award the contract to Allwine Security not to exceed $17,300 for installation plus annual monitoring.
So moved.
Okay, motion for Mr. Bennett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Weaver. Ms. Switzer, please poll the board.
Mr. Wigglesworth?
Aye.
Mr. LaFever?
Aye.
Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye, the ayes have it, 5-0. Okay, next up, we have the HVAC golf course project, which we had just been discussing a moment ago. Ms. Switzer, do you have anything more at this point to add before
No.
we turn over to the board? Okay, does any board member have anything to add? Okay. Anything on public comment? Okay, seeing none, I will make the motion, or I will entertain the motion to award the contract to Liebold Incorporated in the amount to not exceed $219,500.
So move.
Motion from Mr. LaFever. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Wigglesworth. Ms. Switzer, please poll the board.
Mr. Wigglesworth?
Aye.
Mr. LaFever?
Aye.
Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye, the ayes have it, 5-0.
Thank you.
That only leaves one last thing on our agenda, and that is the board 2021 goals. Basically, you guys have the 2020 goals in front of you. We actually did accomplish some of the items on there. Some of them are still a work in progress. Our goals have always been a living and breathing document at this point. I'm actually kind of proud that we're one of the few municipalities that actually does goals each year, which is surprising that people don't do that, but that's the case that is out there right now. So we actually do goals or as a board, which gives our staff some clear guidance. Has anybody even given thought at this point to changes, adds, deletes for board goals at this point? We do not have to do action tonight on this.
Yeah, I'd like to have a little additional time to review it if we could.
Okay. What we can do is we can work collaboratively. We just can't deliberate. So if anybody has a board goal that they would like to have add on or changes, how about we set a deadline of by this Friday, next Friday, emailing adds and deletes to Mrs. Schweitzer. And she can compile adds and deletes on here into a red line format, including who made the request of adding or deleting. And then we can have a little bit of a session to talk about that our following meeting and accept the changes or deny the changes. That sound good with everybody?
Okay. Mhm. Yes.
So next Friday is the goal, and that's a hard goal at this point. So no buyer's remorse if you miss next Friday. Okay, so with that, we actually, was that an action? That was an action item, so I will entertain a motion to table.
So moved.
Okay, motion from Mr. Bennett, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Wigglesworth. Ms. Switzer, please poll the board.
Mr. Wigglesworth?
Aye.
Mr. LaFever?
Aye.
Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver? Mr. Russell?
Aye, the ayes have it, 5-0. So with that, it is 8:05, and having accomplished everything else that was on the agenda, we will adjourn our meeting. We will be going into the executive session, discuss a personnel matter, and will not return. Mr. Wigglesworth,
Did you guys already go over the manager's report?
we did everything, yeah. Is there something you need to talk about before we hit the gravel?
Nope, it can wait.
Okay. We will adjourn the meeting. We pretty much did every single thing on the agenda to try to buy you guys some time.
John.
Fairly well.
So too.